Have you ever felt like something is wrong? Something is wrong with your body, but you start trying to find some answers, and the doctors tell you everything is normal? Well, if you have felt that way, you are not alone. We are going to dive into that today. We are going to find some solutions with my guest, Dr. Sarah Doyle. Let's get started. You're listening to the Begin Within Health Show with Nate Slager. For more, go to beginwithin.fit/podcast, or to enroll right now in our flagship coaching program, go to beginwithin.fit/coaching. I recently sat down with Dr. Sarah Doyle. She is a certified functional medicine practitioner, and she's the author of the book, The 7X Method. And she helped me to understand a little bit more about why so many people are suffering despite being told that they have nothing wrong, that they are healthy, right? All the tests say that they are healthy. Dr. Doyle's mission is to keep people out of hospitals and off prescription medications. And so she focuses on the root cause of medicine and all natural solutions that have no side effects. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. We kind of jump all over the place, just like regular conversations do, but you're going to enjoy her approach and some of the insights that she shares in this conversation. There are three things that I want you to listen very closely for. These are the main themes, the main takeaways, as far as I'm concerned, from this conversation. And if you have some other takeaway, I'd love for you to share it in the comments, especially if you're watching on YouTube. Here's number one, and it is something I already touched on: the root cause approach. She's going to describe her approach to trying to find the root cause of symptoms, the root cause of problems, or the root cause of those feelings of things aren't right, I'm not well, but no one's telling me what could be wrong. So listen as we talk about that and the specific things that may be behind some of the symptoms that aren't showing up on some of the other tests. In fact, that is going to take us to our conversation about side effects, something that Dr. Doyle is very passionate about. And I think for me, that was something that I left with a very much more serious view of side effects. I guess if I have to put it one way, it's that we should always be seeking treatment and care that comes without side effects, if at all possible, rather than just accepting that those are just part of the treatment that we may be prescribed. So listen for that. I think it's going to be as impactful for you as it was for me. Second of all, we're going to talk about brain chemistry. We are going to talk about hormones. Listen up as we dive into those and some of the ways that we can check those out, find out what some of those levels are, and ways that your doctor can help you to do that as well. And then number three, and this is where we get into her book, The 7X Method, we're going to talk about eating according to your body's natural rhythms. Is going to be something that you're going to want to continue to explore after our conversation, I'm sure, as Dr. Doyle shares her personal experience with this. Here we go. Let's dive in. Here's my interview with Dr. Sarah Doyle.
My typical patient has been kicked around the allopathic medical model without any results, and they've gone on Facebook, Instagram, I guess now TikTok. They're following, and they're trying to piece together what should they do with their life because their doctor can't help them, and maybe this influencer has an answer. And so by the time I get them, they've tried a bunch of different things. They've been mostly unsuccessful. They probably have like 20 plus supplements. I had a patient come to when I had a clinic, I sold it. But when I had a clinic in Miami Beach, she literally came with like a carry-on travel roller bag with supplements. And she's like, this is what I'm doing. And I was like, okay, start with the basics. So this is a typical patient. They're frustrated. They're gaining weight. They can't sleep. They have no sex drive. Everything that they used to do their whole life isn't working anymore. and there's nowhere to turn. They've gone to their doctor, the thyroid is fine. Doctor won't test their sex hormones because like, oh, it's done. It's just a rite of passage. This is just normal part of aging. Well, it's
Okay.
not a normal part of aging. And thankfully it's becoming a little bit more mainstream thanks to a lot of podcasters like, Joe Rogan and Andrew Huberman, and they're talking about functional medicine. So I'm a certified functional medicine practitioner, which means I dig deep to look at the root cause. Like you go to your regular doctor, they figure out what's going on and they give you a pill to manage it because that's what they were trained in school. I get that same test result or maybe a different test result because I'm using different testing. And I think about, okay, why? Let's figure out why this is wrong and then figure out the root cause. Is it a toxin? Is it genetics? Is it some other environmental cause? And we work to the root cause, and then you're not, hopefully we can fix it. So
Gotcha.
that's the typical patient. I think I'd say, I'm a licensed physical therapist. That's where the doctor comes from. But when I was treating people in hospitals, I realized that most disease was circadian rhythm disruption and
Mm,
vitamin and mineral deficiencies. Like all these, I worked in an oncology unit. Like that's the epitome of big pharma, like destroying human body. And people would say to me, like, isn't there something I can do? They're just giving me more prescriptions. They don't really know what's wrong with me. And I knew that like there's things I wanted to tell them, but I didn't have any education on it. So during the COVID pandemic, when I was furloughed for a few months, I didn't touch Netflix. I started looking for functional medicine schools because I've been thinking about it for years, and I found one that would let me start early, work at an accelerated pace so that I could get most of it, well, at least 30% of it done before I got called back to work, which
got
was
it.
fantastic. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So the clients that you're working with, or patients, I should say, are individuals who I guess the way that I heard it was they're people who have something going on. They know something's wrong, but they haven't necessarily found a satisfying answer or even a satisfying cause for what they're
Sure.
suffering from.
Yeah, exactly. And that's because, doctors, if they order a test, they are responsible for mitigation of the results. And if they don't know how to fix something, they're not going to test it. They're not going to do
Mm,
multiple thyroid biomarkers because guess what? The thyroid is really hard to understand. And when it comes to endocrinology, most doctors just go the diabetes route because diabetes is rampant. It's a constant cash, it's a cash cow. They've got student loans to pay back, and it's a lot easier to manage than thyroid's tricky. It's tricky.
okay.
It interacts with other systems. So it's really hard to find an endocrinologist that's a thyroid specialist that really understands the thyroid, for example.
Interesting. I haven't heard it explained quite that way, but it makes a lot of sense, right? If I'm going to test it, I have to know what to do with the results. I have to know how
Mm-hmm.
to correct the whatever problems that we find with this test. And so if I'm not qualified in a certain area, I won't even check for it.
So that's why they don't
Yeah.
do, most primary care doctors won't do hormone testing because they had very little education in menopause. The statistics say right now a regular MD has 1 to 2 hours, 1 to 2 hours in what, how many years? And
Wow.
even an OBGYN has like 5 to 8 hours. And they mostly are educated in fertility, pregnancy, delivery, babies. And so that's why doctors are reluctant to order because they're like, well, we could start messing around with bioidentical hormones, but what do they learn that at a conference? At a continuing education course like that,
Hmm.
it helps. It's better than nothing, but it's real hard to find a specialist who has the ability to care properly and manage feedback loops and side effects. And it's we're a symphony. And the problem with our medical, our body's a symphony is what I say.
Hmm.
In our medical model, it's divided. You go to a cardiologist, you go to a nephrologist, you go to the ear doctor, you go to this, like everything's divided, but your body doesn't work like that. So,
Hmm. I like that. I like that analogy. That makes a lot
mhm.
of sense. So I know we talked before we kind of got started with the recording here. Some of the things that you're helping to assess are include brain chemistry,
Yeah.
and that's something that I'd love to dive into. I'm curious because I haven't come across that before, and maybe I have, but just not specifically phrased that way. I'm curious about brain chemistry. What is it that you're looking for? How are you testing it? Those kinds of things, and I want to know what you're finding.
Absolutely. In my functional medicine education, I learned that hormones and brain chemicals have a direct interplay with each other. And many symptoms that we think are hormone symptoms, they could either be like, if we write down a list of symptoms, it could either be from brain chemicals or it can be from sex hormones. How do we know what it is? We test. So since 2021, I've been testing sex hormones, stress hormones, thyroid hormones, and brain chemistry. And sometimes I'll get a patient. I'm like, oh yeah, she's 62. It's gotta be it's probably just her hormones. And then I'll get the test back. Her hormones are low, but not that bad. And it was really everything to do with her brain. So the brain chemistry test is a urine panel, and it gets a capture. I use urine panels for everything because your urine will capture the metabolites of everything that just happened in your body. So it's a great way to see like how much testosterone did your body use yesterday? How much serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, we do a ratio of that to assess burnout, glutamate, glycine, GABA, histamine, phenylethylamine, and we look at creatinine, the breakdown and the kidney health. So uh, each one of these chemicals has a gene that will code it to make an enzyme. So for every chemical reaction in your body, think about the periodic table of elements. We have electric charges. We are adding things. You remember like chemistry class, right? And maybe as junior high, maybe barely remember that doing
Like
those.
think about the periodic table of elements. And I'm like, I don't have a very good picture of it anymore.
No, okay. So we did so think about all the chemical reactions. You have to have certain elements and like they had like catalysts. We needed to have certain things for chemical reactions to occur, right? So each gene is coded to make an enzyme, and then you need to have cofactors. You need certain vitamins and minerals. So when I look at somebody's brain chemistry results, I can say, okay, and I do a pretty detailed intake. So like if I look at their diet and they're just like totally depleted, your brain doesn't have a chance to make enough of anything if you're short on trace minerals, vitamins. I mean, and the standard American diet is just horrific. It's devoid of nutrition. So I'll take that into account, and sometimes I'll just put people on real high, like we'll get like a real high like phytonutrient blend, so they get a lot of antioxidants and stuff like that. But for each brain chemical, there's certain minerals and everything that needs to be present in order for the chemical reaction to occur. And then you also have to have an intact gene. So we have these things called SNPs. That's an abbreviation for single nucleotide polymorphism. So nobody has perfect genes. Okay. We know, think of like Down syndrome. That's like a real extreme example. But if we were to look at like autism, many people with autism have issues with methylation. So the typical methylation genes involved with that are the MTHFR, the MTR, and the MTRR. There's some other ones that are commonly tested, like the COMT, that helps break down the catecholamines, like the norepinephrine and epinephrine, which can also participate in some of the attention and executive functions of the brain, but it largely affects women and men, the ability to break down toxic estrogen. So we have toxic estrogens everywhere, like plastics, fragrances, all the garbage, all the chemicals, right? They're typically xenoestrogens, and you have to have intact methylation genes to break them down. So back to brain chemistry, how does this all work out? If I can look at what the levels are, I can kind of get an idea of, is this a genetic issue? And we look at family history, like, yeah, my dad was an alcoholic, my uncle was an alcoholic, I struggle with addiction. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll probably see something on the glutamate or the GABA. We'll probably see some imbalances there, and maybe some imbalances in dopamine. Yeah, I have ADHD. We'll probably see low norepinephrine and low phenylethylamine. Yeah, I have depression. We'll probably see low dopamine, low serotonin. And so what happens when these things run in a family, there's a genetic predisposition for it, right? That's the SNP. But we can also have vitamin and nutrient deficiencies, which totally accentuate this. So that's the problem. So how do we fix it? We do the reverse. There's a supplement protocol for every chemical in the brain. And depending on how low the levels are, I will dose accordingly. So when we get there's some people, they get their test results back. I'm like, how do you even get dressed in the morning? Like, I don't even know like how you have the wherewithal to do anything. And, so we'll start with like vitamins, minerals, herbs, amino acids on an empty stomach. First thing you do when you wake up in the morning, big glass of water. You might be swallowing 8 vitamins, 8 different pills. I do it. I've had multiple concussions. I have ADHD. I don't have depression, thank God, but my ADHD is pretty strong. And once I took this brain chemistry test and I started with the supplements, it really helped me manage an adult. Like it helped me adult better. I'm still ADHD. Yes, I still have the creativity, but it helps curb like my impulsivity. I notice I'm a lot more patient. I don't cut people off and interrupt them. And I noticed like the supplements work. Like one of them was out of stock last year. I was out of it for like 4 to 6 weeks. And I was interrupting people all the time, which is horrible as a healthcare practitioner, like cutting off my patients all the time. Like it's a horrible, horrible thing. So they do work, and they do work usually within like 1 to 2 weeks. By 2 weeks, you should have the full effect. I did publish a paper. You have to pay for it. Unfortunately, it's not free on PubMed, but it's case report of utilization of urinary neurotransmitter metabolites and nutraceuticals in the management of disordered eating. Long
Hmm.
title, that's how medical research is. So we took a patient who had depression, anxiety, OCD, and eating disorders, 20 plus year history of eating disorders. So the literature says the longer somebody's had an eating disorder, the harder it is to heal it.
Mhm.
So, we were able to test her before and after. We did a 5 month treatment period, and she was able to increase her BMI. Like, I think she went from 16 to 17 to like 18 or 19, like 2 points. It was enough though that if she went to the hospital, she wouldn't be labeled as like failure to thrive and been pumped
Mhm.
with like sure and stuff like that. So that
Wow.
was pretty remarkable. So I mean, this stuff does work. And it is, I love the hormone testing, of course. I mean, I do that to myself every year. I'm perimenopausal and I want to stay on top of it for my health. But the brain chemistry testing is really profound.
Wow. I guess so. I think that is a compelling um, piece of evidence to think about someone with an eating disorder for decades having a reversal by. So you were talking about testing and then supplementing, right? Vitamins, minerals, and
Mhm.
supplements to try to address the brain chemistry um, issues that were evident in the test. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, that's why I wrote a case. It's writing a medical research paper is a real pain.
I've heard. I've never
The
done
peer review process,
it.
it's such a pain, but like I really wanted to get that out there. I think it's criminal that psychologists, psychiatrists, mental health providers don't do this testing.
Wow.
Like it's, I mean, because I mean, what is it, Pfizer? I don't know who makes Prozac or Cymbalta or all those products. Like they don't want you to find out that you can just like take vitamins,
Yeah.
minerals. I help my
Wow.
coaches. Yeah, I mean, I help my clients like wean off of these drugs. Like if they start getting side effects, like I don't see how that's an acceptable solution. Like all these SSRIs give men erectile dysfunction. Like that is not an acceptable treatment. Like I don't understand how this is an acceptable form of care.
Right. If there's a path without negative side effects, why are we not pursuing that
Exactly.
first, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. I'm curious, the individuals that you're helping, I have to imagine that you see patterns in terms of lifestyle choices. I know you mentioned earlier the standard American diet doesn't, I think you said, doesn't give your brain a chance.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth if you don't feel like that's true. Um, I'm curious about maybe what are some of the biggest things in terms of lifestyle that an individual could do from your perspective that would give them the best the best
Mhm.
way to start addressing some of the bigger problems that you're helping people with. I heard you
Sure.
mention circadian rhythm disruption earlier, things like that. What are some of the big things that just the standard American could do
Yeah.
that would start to help them have a fighting chance?
Okay, so I wrote this book. Oops, it's backwards. The 7X method. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere books are sold, if in paperback. And I did the Audible thing, so it's available on Audible if you consume content that way. You can get the gist of it in about 90 minutes, 2 hours. Go take a long walk, listen to
7X
that.
method. Okay.
Yep, it's the 7X method, the truth about your body, food in your body that's never been told until now. So, how did I come up with that? Well, I didn't really. I was in Central America and I became friends with a liaison for a healing center where people go with all these metabolic disorders and cancers and they get healed with food like 30 to 60 days.
Hmm.
So, I don't have any cancer treatment protocols. I'm not claiming to cure cancer, but I have the basic timed eating protocols that they use. And it's food. There's no such thing as calories, no such thing as macros. There's no counting. There are 7 different food groups, and they are divided by the type of energy that the food has.
Huh.
And it goes by color. And what they found is that our organs and systems have circadian rhythms that follow our main circadian rhythm. So, circadian rhythm, for you don't know, for those who don't know, the sun comes up, you open your eyes, and it goes through your retina, through the optic nerve to this little hub in your brain called a suprachiasmatic nucleus, and that triggers the whole thing for your whole body. All your organs and systems have their own circadian rhythms that follow. They
Mm.
take turns peaking and resting in activity throughout the day. And so basically, there's 7 different groups of organs and systems, 7 different food groups. They're grouped by color. And the basic gist of it is the organ or system works really hard, peaks in activity, and then decides to eat and rest. So it's just like you go to the gym, you eat some protein, you rest, and then you repeat. Well, all your organs and systems do the same thing. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty cool. So I had digestive problems after taking an antibiotic. I took an antibiotic in 2002. I was traveling. I went to an urgent care with a UTI that went to my kidneys. Like, you know, typical 22-year-old. They're like, "Oh, I'll just take whatever is at Walmart and heal myself." Well, I kept drinking. I was 22. I was on vacation. And um I got a kidney infection. So they gave me this really strong antibiotic and I got real sick. I thought I had Crohn's disease. I thought I had IBS. I still to this day have anaphylactic food allergies to things after that
Wow.
antibiotic. But for the most part, I had trouble digesting food all the time. I was like taking digestive enzymes and, I always had heartburn. My stomach never seemed like it could handle anything. So I took this method that it's a timed eating method. And I was like, all right, well, I'm on vacation. Might as well give it a shot. And within 2 weeks, all my digestive symptoms were gone. I was able to eat a lot more foods than I'd ever
Hmm.
eaten that I had eaten in 20 years. Like this is like 20 years of taking massive amounts of probiotics and still struggling with candida, taking massive amounts of digestive enzymes, still having heartburn and indigestion and bloating. And I was just like, I thought that I was just ruined for life from the antibiotic. So I was like, this way of eating is amazing. So I came home and I started my coaching clients on it. And they were like, what is this? Like, I'm eating more than ever and I lost a pant size because the inflammation goes down. Uh, it's pretty
Wow.
profound. So,
Wow.
uh, when your stomach inflammation goes down, your brain inflammation goes down, and it's the best of all. It's free. You can't. My coaching services are expensive. I mean, it costs me a lot to advertise on Instagram, Facebook. That's where a lot of it goes to, and then all the functional medicine testing. None of that's covered by insurance. Insurance
Right.
won't cover preventative care. They only want to do something when they can get you hooked on a prescription. So my services are expensive, and I'm not even like greedy about it. But if you can't afford that, go download the book. If it's on Audible, you probably have Audible credits. It's probably free. If not, it's like $11. Go listen to that. Get the Kindle. I like the Kindle because I have recipes in it. I mean, I have all 3 versions, but there's half the book is recipes. There's a 7-day reset with a grocery list to help people because I realize
Wow.
people don't cook anymore. They've gotten so used to like Uber Eats and this and that. So I try to I'm in a multicultural place. I'm in South Beach. Like I just went to the Whole Foods and there's like 5 different languages that I hear. Like
Yeah.
there's, so I pulled a diversity I have friends of all different ethnicities. So I was like, what's your favorite thing your mom makes, And I got that recipe and then I converted a little bit to match the 7X method. It's a diet you can do for life. Like I don't even like going off of it for like 3 hours because when your metabolic systems are communicating properly, this goes back to the periodic table. Everything is electrons, everything's positive and negative charges. So when you get all the electric charges happening properly, you have so much energy. Like
Hmm.
you don't have to eat 7 times a day, but there's 7 different opportunities to eat. I'll say that there's 7 food groups. So the idea is you look at the time of day. Let's see, it's 2 o'clock where I am right now. That's right between the red group and the yellow group. So I'll eat something for the red group when I get off this call and probably put something from the yellow group just so I can get kind of a meal out of it. And you never need coffee in the afternoon. You never feel tired. Your sleep improves. I used to have 3 alarms to wake up in the morning, and I would struggle to fall asleep before midnight. My mind was racing this and that, and it helped profoundly. So start there.
Wow.
If you want to go, yeah, if you want to go further, I'm happy to help you with my coaching services. I know what I'm doing is making a difference, and I know I'm a lot more affordable than my competition. I look at what they're charging. Like, I'm not paying any influencers. Like, this is me. This is what you get. So
Oh,
it can be a
awesome.
little more affordable.
Could you title of your book again? Could you share it with us?
Yeah, it's the number 7X Method
Okay.
by Dr. Sarah Doyle. If you look that up on Amazon, you'll find me there. Um,
Awesome. Great.
yeah, yeah,
And Dr. Doyle, before I let you roll, thank you so much, by the way. I
my
think
pleasure.
especially to have your input and have the message, hey, what can I do right now to get started making improvements that are going to really make a difference? For it to be, let's talk about nutrition, let's talk about when we're eating and what we're eating at those times, I think is huge.
Yeah.
Um, what would be the best way if someone's listening and they want to go further and connect with you? What would be the best way for them to do that?
Hop on my website. It's drsarahdoyle.com. It's DRSARAHDOYLE. No periods in between. drsarahdoyle.com. You can book a discovery Zoom. It's a 30-minute meeting. I have a monthly membership, a biohacker membership, where you can jump on to, we have Tuesday masterminds where I teach about a subject and we open up for Q&A. That's only $150 a month. And then you get text message access to me so I can guide you. If you want to, that's a more affordable way to start. And then you can order tests when you can afford them.
Nice.
If you're just been kicked around and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, there's a biohacking boot camp. And that is, I have it listed for $5,000, but I'll give your people a $2,000 discount because I don't have to pay for advertising. Like if you have an online business, you know that you spend so much money on social
Yeah.
media advertising, it's ridiculous. So I can afford to give you guys like a $2,000 discount. So it'll be to bring it down to $3,000. You'll get a 3-month coaching program with all your labs included. That's the biohacker boot camp. But
Awesome.
yeah, if you're not sure. And then if you just want to follow my content, I'm on Instagram and YouTube, and the handle is 7X Method, just like the book 7X Method. I put out content daily, or my assistant does, and you can always DM me there. If just I try to meet people where they're at.
Yeah. Awesome. Wow. That's very generous of you. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Dr. Sarah Doyle, thanks for being here on the Begin Within Health show. Thanks for all your hard work. Keep it up.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.
All right. Such a great conversation, wasn't it? I want to thank Dr. Doyle for being here on the podcast. Links are in the show notes to access what she told you about, as well as to get your hands on her book. If that's something that you'd like to learn more about, the 7X method. Otherwise, a link to her website is waiting there for you, drsarahdoyle.com. It is there for you in the show notes. So go check it out. Enjoy. Let's recap a little bit. What did we learn? We talked about trying to find the root cause rather than just treating symptoms, which often, when we do that, comes with unpleasant side effects. I know you could hear Dr. Doyle's passion for treatment without side effects. And for me, that was kind of the big light bulb in this conversation was, yeah, why are we okay with side effects? Why is that just par for the course? Why is that just something that we accept? Oh yeah, if I'm going to get rid of these symptoms, if I'm going to treat an illness, a disease, well then there's going to be unpleasant side effects that come along with that treatment. Why is it that we just are okay with that? Of course, I understand, and I'm sure you do too, just being realistic, there are some situations where that's just going to happen. There are going to be side effects, right? And the best available treatment includes some unpleasant side effects. However, shouldn't that be a little bit farther along down the line rather than just our first option? Yeah, I'll take that. Give me that with the side effects. I love that approach that she has of really getting serious and discussing the fact that side effects shouldn't be just something that we accept. And when we start to look at that a little bit differently and actually trying to find the root cause, the one thing that might be behind these symptoms, and how do we actually solve for that? How do we actually treat that? It's going to lead us to some better outcomes. I think that you would agree, rather than just kind of taking the easy answer, which isn't always that easy in the long run to deal with some of those unpleasant side effects. So, as we do the best we can to take care of our health, realizing that side effects shouldn't just be something that we accept, but rather that's a last resort, is the treatment that includes that, right? Also, we talked about testing for hormones, getting those checked, getting serious about that. Obviously, Dr. Doyle does that for a reason. The reason is, I would guess, right? I'm not a doctor, but those are often the reason for some of those unpleasant symptoms that may have brought somebody to the doctor in the first place. So, getting those checked, taking that seriously, and realizing that, hey, this is something that we should be monitoring, we should be watching, especially if we're having symptoms that we are not happy with. Checking out the hormones or the brain chemistry, like we talked about. And if you're wondering, yeah, that's great, but my doctor doesn't want to test for that. Um, Go check out episode 217. We had an interesting conversation there. I talked with a doctor, and she outlined the steps in order to get some of the tests that we really might want, or as you're exploring functional medicine, the tests that you are convinced that you need. How do I get them? How do I order them? How do I make this happen? We discussed that in episode 217. You can go back and check that one out. That one I've gotten some really good feedback on as a very valuable resource. So check that one out. And then lastly, talking about the 7X method, Dr. Doyle's book, The Circadian Rhythm Eating, the method of circadian rhythm eating. Maybe I should say that. I'll say that the right way. Let's try that. Interesting, right? Our organs follow rhythms. And so eating at specific times, which Dr. Doyle outlines in the 7X method, can improve our health, our metabolism, digestion, energy levels, and sleep without having to count calories or have some restrictive um, method of eating. We're looking at time. We're looking at timing. We're looking at the rhythm, right? And that takes me to our action step for today. After we talked to the expert, to the doctor, and she gave us all that information. For me, I say, all right, what would be the easiest way? I'm not having any unpleasant symptoms right now that might lead me to seek out some health care, but I just want to make sure that I'm optimizing my health. If that's how you're feeling as well, then what might be the easiest way that we can kind of dip our toes into the circadian rhythm eating method? Well, here I think is the easiest way. Something to give a try. Again, this is not, I'm not giving you a prescription on eating. I haven't met with you. You haven't, go to a doctor, talk to Dr. Sarah Doyle, someone who's an expert. But here's an easy way to dip your toes in, just to give it a try. It's something that we have been experimenting with and trying at our house, is this: start eating when it gets light outside, stop eating when it gets dark outside. So we're eating while the sun's out, we are fasting while it's dark. Just an easy way, right? We're not diving into all the details that you can get with the 7X method from Dr. Sarah Doyle, but we're just trying, we're just dipping our toes in. And I think we need to just say, hey, what's my experience here? What is my subjective experience when I try something like that? Just experimenting. For a lot of people, a lot of individuals that I work with, making an adjustment like that is huge. It makes a big difference in how they're feeling. But admittedly, it's a big change from what they have been doing. And so I would just recommend just give it a try. If it feels great, you like what's happening, you like how you're feeling, the energy, etc., the sleep, then continue with it and maybe do some more exploring into the 7X method. But again, what we're doing is we don't eat in the morning till it's light outside. That's when we start eating. And when the sun goes down, we're done. And what I mean by done is no calories, no alcohol, no snacks, no ice cream, no treats after that last meal, which ideally is happening while it's still light outside. I think you can already see, right? For so many people, it's that after the sun goes down is when the bad decisions begin, or the less healthy decisions, I should say. So when you give it a try, you are naturally restricting out a lot of the time, the eating time, when less healthy things are happening. And the experts will tell us that it matches a little closer to our body's natural energy needs and the natural rhythms, right? Which it makes a lot of logical sense as well. But I think the best thing to do is, of course, you check with a health expert if you have any concerns, but give it a try. Just see what happens one day. Just give it a try. Stop eating when the sun goes down. See how you feel. See what happens. See how you sleep. See how you feel the next morning. If you are like me, you're going to be like, ooh, we're on to something here. But give it a try. Just experiment. Just see what happens. See what the feel is for you as you give it an experimental shot at the just again dipping your toes into that circadian rhythm eating method. All right, friends, that is enough for me. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end, watching all the way to the end. If you're on Spotify or YouTube, watching, I appreciate you so much. If you would be so kind, wherever you're listening or watching, to follow or subscribe so that you can get all the shows that we are producing. It would mean so much to me. And of course, drop a comment, say hi. Love to connect with you. Thanks so much. Continue to take good care of yourself.